we've got a different group of artists here tonight. They're actually extremely reluctant business people. None of them, I think, entered the world to become big entrepreneurs. I'll talk about them in a moment, but they're here tonight to quite a rare occasion, actually. They're not public speakers. They're here as nervous as they can be, and I'm very thankful to them for their courage and vulnerability to come and share their stories, so thank you. Who am I? I'm very fortunate to be the general manager of our New Zealand business, so I get to work with this guy, Michael Allpress, for my joy and my and pain. Mostly joy, I think. I'm the father of two amazing girls. I think it's not just my job that defines me, and I'm an amateur in learning how to, lead a business, from the heart as opposed to just thinking about the mind. And I'm hoping that's part of what we'll explore today. So let me give a little introduction to who you're going to be talking to. Dr. Jackie Mills, who is the creative magic in the family company Les Mills that inspires millions of people to get out, to connect through their fitness and to be fit every day. As Chief Creative Officer, she is responsible for the development of all the Les Mills workouts, and Jackie is also a specialist in nutritional medicine, an obstetrician and a general medical practitioner, completing a postgraduate studies in nutrition at the Australian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine. So I feel rather underwhelmed. Thank you, Jackie, for coming in.
Very old.
And she's only 35 years old. Ava Nakagawa is founder of Bear Baroness, founder of Little Poms, and general manager of Pomeroy's. While the Aucklanders in the crowd, these names might not be known to you, these are institutions in Christchurch and Canterbury. And I think she's a great example of, as much as you can be a global phenomenon, to be the best you can be in your community is an amazing thing to do. So thank you, Ava, for joining us. Michael Allpress is known pretty well within these four walls. The Allpress business has, we've expanded to 5 countries around the world, very much expanding from what we do here. We take this and we do it somewhere else, and Michael's very much been the architect of that, and he remains very much the architect of the brand and what we do. The brand starts with coffee, but very much it's about transcending coffee, and for us it's really about community. This is the arts community that brought us together. It's about connection, and when it comes to Michael, it's quite often about design and simplicity. When I make it complex, I get in trouble. Katie Lockhart, thank you to have you here, is very much lauded for her interiors, the spaces she creates from restaurants to homes. She was the founder of Everyday Needs, which was taking things that are in our life every day and actually saying, look, we can make those special. She very much helps us redefine, redesign, and giving us spaces that can inspire us. So I wish I could say that we designed it this way, but when I think about these 4 people, Michael very much encourages us all to stop for a moment, to think, to refuel. Jackie makes sure that straight after that we move and we get fit and active. Katie makes sure that as we go through that, we're in spaces that inspire us, that can ensure that it's a great life that we lead. And Ava makes sure that whether it's first thing in the morning or late into the evening, we're having a bloody good time. So each one of those is quite good, but I think together that makes a pretty perfect day for me. So we'll dive straight into it. Michael, this is your space, so I'm not letting you off. You can start. Playing other people's music is arguably not creativity. How important is it to be, creative, break the rules, not play someone else's song, to make something yours, and maybe can you tell people here how have you helped achieve that?
Playing somebody else's song, not a good idea, but I think I remember when you first turned up, Craig, and you were kind of trying to figure out this organisation and how it worked, and I was honoured and surprised at one point when you called me an artist, and And that's probably what I've been doing, unbeknown to myself, as I've grown a business. It has been more art than business. It's not. We're not looking at the end result in terms of a commercial perspective. I'm very much right brain driven, and so I'm more focused on values and working for a higher purpose almost, so that's we're talking about commerce and business and brand, but I think there's an opportunity for, particularly today, to find a higher purpose in what you do, whatever it is, sports, brewing, colorist, interior designer, there's always an opportunity to find a higher purpose.
Yeah, Jackie, you've I was walking past Les Mills the other day, and I can't remember the terms exactly, but I think it was talking about, as a company, you're inspired around, having a heart for trying new things so that people can love fitness. And that's where Michael touched on higher purpose. How much is that sort of higher purpose, I guess, driven your business and turned it into something special?
I think some of us in the business are definitely driven by a higher purpose. I think when you work in a company, it's really important to have a collaboration of lots of different sorts of people, because it's all the different parts that come together to enable that vision. So yes, Philip and I are very clear. We wake up pretty much every day and we go, how can we do better? It's always started for New Zealanders, but how can we actually help New Zealanders fall in love with fitness? Because it's the thing that we believe in our hearts, is that fitness provides health. We want to be able to provide community and to provide magic for people. So I suppose that's the constant driver for us, and we are always tempered by our CFO. We've got to be honest here, it's higher purpose alongside other things. It isn't really.
No, without wealth, there's no welfare. That's true. No, it's something that really resonates with me. Not that welfare depends on how you interpret welfare, not in a gifting way, but yeah, they go hand in hand.
What about you, Amy? I don't think you probably have a CFO as such. I don't know who plays that role for you. But
no, we don't have a CFO. No, we're pretty small. And are you talking in terms of high purpose in our business?
Yeah, I mean, how, as a smaller business, how does that purpose define what you do, or is it just make it up as you go along?
Yeah, definitely, kind of is. We don't have boards or CFOs, we're pretty little, but I think the thing with our business is we're a family business, so that has always been our high purpose. As long as we're serving the people around us in the right way and treating our people in the best way, then that's our direction. My parents have taught us really well that if you're looking after your staff and your people, and I think that it's something that I try, and that's what I wake up every day and think about, and everything comes really nicely from that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
For us? Yeah. So family is our core, first and foremost, and yeah.
Yeah, and what about for you, Katie? You're sort of looking at, you're going into people in spaces and trying to help them sort of, I guess, design an environment that people can feel at home. Like, how does that work for you?
Well, I guess, it's a really collaborative process for us. We really try really hard to listen to our clients and understand what their needs are, as well as bring sort of exactly what we feel we offer best to their lives, which we just need to really manage that process and make sure we're very sensitive to the needs of the people that we're dealing with. And I think that's, something that I spend a lot of time thinking about in terms of our client and making sure that we're delivering something that adds value to their life at the end of the day. I don't want to create anything temporary, so it's important to me that that our team is really thinking about the situation that we're working in.
I think for, business, and there was always talk of, product first, and product was sort of the key thing, but you've all sort of started already talking about something that hasn't started with product. It's it started with a feeling. Maybe for you, Ava, how much is this all heartfelt versus product first? What comes first?
Heart came first. We had a pub, and my parents had the space next door, and they thought, hey, we could do something, and I thought, oh great, let's do a cafe. I had not thought about it at all. It was that came from wanting to create something in the day. We'd successfully run the night and created a really nice neighbourhood pub, and yeah, from there I didn't think. I ran into it with my mind switched off and my heart wide open, and yeah, I was really naive because it was quite overwhelming, and I think with the brand that we created with Pomeroy's, our cafe was always going to be successful. I think we're going to make a few coffees and serve a little bit of food, but it didn't go like that. It was crazy, and yeah, and then with our brewery, we put a brewery in, and I brewed some homebrew and thought, hey, cool, I can start a label, and that was an interesting thing to do too. So yeah, I'm definitely all heart. I've got, fortunately, people that pull me back along the way and say, okay, sleep on it. So yeah.
So Jackie, for you, you're going to a slightly larger business, in a few more countries. What about for you guys? How much is that planning and saying here's where we have to go, and deep planning versus making sure that you respond to that intuition that comes?
Intuition and heartfelt. Yeah. That's kind of such an interesting question. Because I'm sitting here, when you think about it, it is. You just go into these things because it just feels right at such a heart level, especially when you are with people, when you have people you're working with, and then especially when you're in a business, it is about people and people's experience. It has to come from the heart, because otherwise you're not actually able to connect with people. And so definitely, it's just like you were a family business. And, so the heart has been a really big side, and then opportunities have come along the way, I think, and it's that ability to take an opportunity to see it and to analyse it and go, yeah, let's run with that one. So that's kind of been the story of our wild adventure to get where we got to. I remember about, oh gosh, I've been this now for over 20 years. Our success is measured, because you have to have measures, and you have to have KPIs and measurements and all that stuff, which of course people are very interested in. I remember when we got to 5,000 clubs globally, and Philip and I, we lay in bed and we were just like, how did that happen? How did that happen? And we were like, we met some incredible people along the way, and the people wanted to join because they had the same heart feeling that we had about what we were doing. And I think that it's been the real driving force for us, is actually enabling people to join us, not being too hard to work with.
What do you got, Mike?
Man, it's all about the people. You can't do it on your own, and I learned that very early on. And we're recently talking about some strategy. Everything's strategy. I'm a detailed person. I'm the why guy, and I'm going, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? And recently I went, it's great. We need to find the gifts and the gaps in our people, and celebrate the gifts, and that's a really important part, because we all have them. Sometimes we don't realise it, and I think part of our job, perhaps not mine, I'm too much of a critic, but is to realise the gifts that we have and fertilise them and nurture them, because there's some pretty amazing people out there. Is that all right?
Yeah, you can stay. Yeah. The people laughing on the critic thing were mostly Allpress employees. So. For our business, we actually get measured on the Allpress side around consistency, and it's often why we get, people back. Maybe I'll put this one to you, Katie. There's sort of this idea of, business gets built by consistently doing something well, but if you're not reinventing yourself and bringing something new, then, what happens next? How do you, as someone who helps other people and businesses, how do you sort of balance that sort of tension between keeping it the same so that people know what you're doing versus creating something new and exciting?
Well, I think in interior design, I often get asked sort of what I think the trends are at the time, and I just hate that question. It's totally not what I'm driven by. And I was lucky enough, my sort of foundation of learning and training was in Italy and in London. And I guess for me, learning within design within spaces that are in those countries, I feel like I have to work so much harder here to create the sort of ambience and atmosphere that comes with a great building that's in Europe already, whereas here a lot of the buildings are so new, so I just think we're just constantly working on creating the best foundation of work that we can, rather than the bells and whistles. I'm not a decorator. I don't want to be thought of like that. So there's a lot more depth to our practice than I think a trend can describe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Hey, what about for you? You sort of, you're in the business of delivering consistency. How do you make sure that you're changing and evolving and keeping it fresh?
New things is really addictive, like trying a new event or concept and wanting to always be changing and evolving within the business. I get quite addicted to that, but actually for us the hardest thing is keeping things really consistent and making sure we're always bringing back to that point. And the food that we put out every day is consistent, and there's something really, really special about that with a business, and it's very, very hard to do with staff changes and food changes and all of those sort of things. So there's something for me. Yes, it's great to change, but I'm trying to practice to be further back in the keeping things consistent. And I think with food especially, people love nostalgia. And where am I going with this? I've kind of gone on a tangent. Sorry. So it's hard, but no, we're not that trendy at all, actually.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, sort of, Katie, I think it was interesting you starting with, you don't start with the trends, you actually start with what's going to feel right. And Jackie, I'm interested for you here, because I think part of your mission is helping inspire people to keep being fit, to keep, I guess, finding new ways. How do you balance, I think I discovered, body balance when I was in Bristol, England. It was true story. It was probably the thing that trained me out of having Friday drinks, was to go and have body balance. Yeah. So, it was very good. And thank you. I was quite impressed with myself at the time too. Closest I got to the yoga.
It's such a great thing to think about, isn't it? Is it consistency or is it innovation? Because innovation and trends are touted as the things that we all have to run with, and yet I think our business is actually founded on consistency. The thing that sells us into clubs is consistency. It's every 3 months they get however many programs they buy, the new classes, and we have consistent teacher training, and everything is sort of kind of taken care of. And that's kind of one aspect of it, and that I see that as the foundation. And yet if we weren't innovating just very subtly within the classes, so for example, if you took a body pump class 25 years ago, it's very different to what it is today. I mean, it's still a barbell workout, but the music has changed, there's subtle changes in the exercises, all that sort of stuff. So everything innovates, but very kind of slowly and quietly within the consistency. And then we have to have big breakouts. We have to have Les creating the trip, which is, this visual ride through animated worlds, because in the industry, we're seen as innovators. And even though that might only be in 60 clubs, it's the thing that everyone goes, oh, this company is still really exciting. And it excites a different generation, it excites a different type of person. Whether or not they buy it, they see us in a different way. Yeah? I don't know where all that came from, but that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Keep cups. Tell us about keep cups.
Keep cups, oh my god.
Bring it home.
The Allpress keep cup. We have to go there. It's coming. Yeah. In many different iterations, but the innovation's interesting. We're trying to build an innovative in-house communications team at the moment, and it's not easy. And probably what's not easy about it is if you want to do good work, you've got to fight over it. You've got to challenge it and pull it to pieces, and it's an awkward space to operate in. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's essential for doing great work, and I think that's what we all want to do. We don't want to do anything that's not fantastic. I was going to use the mediocrity word, but I won't.
Thanks. I think this is, I think Michael, you and I were at a conference. I think it was the one put on by NZTE, and there was overseas speakers there, and they noted the sort of New Zealand value that they had sensed and felt in the room. And I think this question's around, I think each one of you has a certain New Zealand kind of value, which it's kind of quietly confident without being too shouty. But we're sort of in a world where increasingly, call it the Kardashian type fame is the thing that, I guess, that defines businesses and brands and what they seek. How do you sort of get your story out into the world, keeping it confident without falling for the, 15 seconds of fame approach? I don't know who wants to grab that one. Ava? Go, Jackie.
Hire people to do it for you.
You just keep moving this mic. Communication, right? How many seconds have we got?
Well, there's kind of...
seconds to communicate.
Yeah, we got
something deep.
Yeah, how do we sort of balance this New Zealand wish to, be quiet and let the work talk for us versus, and not fall for there are Australians in the room or Americans, shouting your story loudly. How do we make sure that we're still heard without, overdoing it?
I think journalists are always looking for a good story, and if you're doing good work, then they, it's just word of mouth. I mean, it is sort of just does work like that, I think. If you're doing good work, people want to know about it.
Yeah.
And you do get found.
Yeah.
I think we're quite modest at Allpress, and we're trying to find a stronger, slightly louder but not arrogant voice, just a more confident voice about the good things that we do and what we stand for. And you can do that in so many different ways and so many different platforms, whether it's digital or producing product and creating spaces. But we're a 30-year-old company that's kind of growing up and finding its confidence, not just in New Zealand but around the world. And that's a journey.
Yeah. You've touched, as a team, you've already touched on the idea that we can't do it alone. We can't we need a team. but also this idea that democracy is not always a great way to come up with something distinctive and new. Maybe for you two, because you've got let's call it the bigger teams to manage, how do you sort of manage this, I guess, contradiction between you can't do it all on your own, but you have to do it with the team, but you have to do something that leads and stands out?
Yeah, great question. I think what you're describing is leadership, and strong leadership, centered leadership, valued leadership is critical. There's nothing worse than a committee that's trying to make a decision, and without leadership they won't make there's always choices, so balancing those choices up around a value system is probably quite critical.
Jackie? Do you call all the shots?
No, I really believe in democracy. I believe in leadership, but I do believe in a lot of people helping to make the right decision, because I think we only know what we know, we have the experiences that we have. I mean, it'd be terrible. You imagine if a sole person made all the decisions. It kind of isn't right. We have to seek wise counsel, and at the moment I love seeking wise counsel from young people, because they know, I'm looking around and gosh, you're all the sort of people who I'd like to say, what do you think about this? And I'm like, because it just seems right. If our mission is to reach more people, then we have to seek counsel from more people to be able to understand, to then be able to reach out to them. That just kind of makes sense. But with a framework, I agree with you, of values, heart-based leadership that is really centered around people. Yeah. Do you want to say?
No, I totally agree. I endorse that program.
Ava?
Yeah, I think on a smaller business side, it's exactly the same. I'm one that you're only as good as your people, and my people are really amazing, and I talk to them every day, we discuss everything, they're involved in everything, and I just really believe that when it comes time to make those decisions, they do listen to me, and when we all pull together and they respect my final word in that situation, because they're loved and respected and looked after. So, yeah, that's my side. Can I work for you? I'd like to work for you. Oh, I've got such a crush.
What about you?
Well, my team is tiny,
Yeah.
so I need my team. Yeah, I guess the thing is with what I do is that I guess we come up with a vision for our client, and we need a team to make it come to life, So we have a great team of makers that we work with, and often we're working with architects and then builders, and so, we have people around us that we know will deliver the same amount of energy to a project that we do, and that is what makes a great project for us. It has to be really, everyone has to be in sync with the same vision and put the same amount of value on craft, and everyone's got to be attuned to the same thing with us. So there's no real leader.
Yeah, I think the leadership concepts are, how do you balance as a leader versus make sure that you're getting the right inputs, in a world that's constantly changing. So, and I think that's been a bit of a theme that you seem to all be touching on, this idea of change, and how do we balance what we've always done well and evolve as the world evolves around us. Before I give the community out there some questions, do you guys have any questions for each other? Feel free to pick on anyone. Mike? Mate, that's bad.
Yeah, where are you going next? Yeah, what's your next vision for your company? Goodness, I have lots of visions.
My mum is building a wellness centre, so that's the next thing, which is which is a different kind of tact, but that's going to be right next to us because we all seem to be about community and providing the whole experience, but just beer at this stage. I think with Beer Baroness, we're rebranding at the moment. It's been 6 years, and I think one thing I've really learned, especially with the cafe, is how much I want to put into community. Like, I feel really passionate about supporting local suppliers, the local milkman, and so using our businesses in a way to really stand up for that and support, especially in Christchurch, and we've been through a lot. So using our business for good, and that might sound quite romantic, but for me, when I know that I'm doing that, the rest will come, the money and the success and all of that sort of stuff. But if I'm putting into the community, that's where I'm at. So Beer Baroness is the next one, and we using our brewery to basically talk about really amazing women. So it'd be great to speak to both of you eventually about that too. So we're using it as a platform to have a conversation and do good things. That's the next place.
Ava, is community pretty much becoming your product? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. We Pomeroy's was built in the 1800s, sort of, it survived the earthquake, and we were one of the only bar in the central city that survived. So we provided a zone for people pre-quake, but definitely post-quake. We liked craft beer before it was cool, so we have also provided a space for that. So it's all community and family owned and operated. So.
Here's a chance for all of you to ask any questions. We'll use this as the roving mic. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask any of our panelists?
This is for Jackie, but I just want to say, Ava, I had pickled cauliflower and savoury granola in little poems the other day. It was amazing.
It's delicious. Pickled cauliflower, miso, and beets, and savoury granola. Yeah, our chef Brad is also part of the cafe as well. We got him involved. He's amazing. Come to Christchurch and eat his food. Like, truly, he's amazing.
It's very unexpected.
Yeah, it's really unexpected, and that's kind of what we try and do, is those sort of really unexpected moments in food, and especially with breakfast, it's been so hard to come into a breakfast market and do something different. Christchurch at the time was all about Eggs Benedict and some pancakes, so we're trying to...
I had the buffet breakfast at the Doubletree the day before, so
you got the whole experience.
Jackie, I went to a Body Balance class too, and I heard a really amazing tale about a caravan sail and drinking Chardonnay, and while the class was going on, and it was so much personality that was almost felt a little dangerous, but it was great. And I just wonder how do you scale that? How do you let people express themselves and bring their personality to the classes, but do that all over the world?
Did you go to Charlene's class?
It was, yeah.
She's exceptional. She'll tell a fabulous tale. Okay, so this is going to sound really bland, but it's in the system. So we have a thing called teacher training, and they do initial training, and they can do advanced training. Initial training teaches them how to learn the choreography and then how to basically coach the people through the movement. And then it's called the 5 key elements. Okay, that's the big secret. But the final 2 are about connection and performance. And that's where we just go, this is about you. So we teach them how to connect with people and the ways to connect with people in the class, and to connect them to the music, and then how to actually perform a little bit, which is really bringing your personality. So it is the balance, I see it as the balance of what is set and what is them. And we try and enhance both.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello. I'd like to know from each of you, if we can, what was it that originally inspired you to go down the path that you went? You know, was it the first cup of coffee you had and you were like, wow, Mike, this is amazing, I want to make something as good, if not better? You know, was it the first homebrew you made, or was it the first bar you went to when you were younger, and was it like, wow, you know, this is something I could really get into?
Cool. Could be a long story, but we'll keep it short. I grew up on the North Shore in Milford, and I think while all my contemporaries were drinking tea and instant coffee, we had roast and ground at home. And for some reason, I managed to secure a mahjong set off a friend of mine who would have only been my age, 12 perhaps. And the next minute there was a sort of mahjong club happening at home with my parents and me, and I found I was quite good at it. And I was beating them, but I was also the coffee guy. I would run down to the IGA. I'm not sure that's quite right, but they had 3 hoppers, and I would select the coffee, grind it, brush it back home, put a pot of milk on the stove, and just throw the coffee into the milk, and then let it simmer for a while, and then strain it off. This was kind of like my original latte. And I'd serve it all up to my parents' friends, and so that was my introduction to coffee. Since I didn't do so well at school, I had dyslexia and left quite early, and found myself working in a surfboard factory, which was quite toxic, so I kind of wanted to get out of there quickly, and then ended up in a restaurant on Ponsonby Road called the Bronze Goat. And they were, Garth Kennedy, who owned that and started that, he was focused on true traditional Middle Eastern food. And part of that program was a wide range of single origin coffees. I think he was the original single origin coffee guy, geek, or hipster on Ponsonby Road. And that was in 1973, I think. But I'm not sure whether this is helping to answer the question. But I sort of did what a lot of Kiwis do. They go overseas, and I was chefing and being a ski bum, and I was about 29, and should I be doing something like sensible with my life? And I came back to New Zealand, and I'd seen this mobile espresso cart on 5th Ave in Seattle under the monorail. It was called Monorail Espresso. I thought, that's it, that's what I'm going to do. And I came back and I borrowed $5,000 off my father. I got a $5,000 grant from the government, and with that money I kicked off Allpress Espresso. And I learned quite quickly that there was more to this than coffee. It was as it grew relatively quickly. There was HR and marketing and finance, and I knew what I was good at, and I knew what I wasn't good at, and so I found people to do what they were good at, and I would just stick to what I did. So yeah, I think that's a real grassroots sort of early days of Allpress, but yeah, it's grown into something since then. I think that's where I'm going to leave it. Jackie.
My story is very short. I was 20 years old, a phys ed student from Dunedin, came up to Auckland because my family was here, and met Philip, who had it was the first few weeks of a class that he'd brought back called Jazzercise. So he'd... And it was full on, it was leg warmers, and it was leotards, and we had to wear, actually the story's going to be longer, and we had these flowers that we had to wear, and so I wanted a job, but the first time I ever did a class I was just sold. I thought this is the way to actually be able to share the thing that I love, which is exercise with people, because it had music, and we kind of did this crazy sort of dancing thing, and we got to wear great gear. And the rest is history. We got married about a year later, and it was great.
Beer was Beervana in Wellington. About 8 or 9 years ago, it was in the town hall, and I went, and all the breweries like Yeasty Boys and 8 Wide and Epic and all those guys that are massive now had just started out, and I was just the biggest fangirl. And Tuatara Hefe was my first like gateway beer. I fell in love with it. And yeah, hospitality is just, I started working hospitality when I was 15 and always have, and I really like people. I actually really like looking after people and providing a really great space. So I always knew that was going to happen, and the beer was a bonus, and then the cafe came later, and so Beervana.
Well, I went to design school, but it was a pretty general education. I didn't really specialise in interiors at that point, and then left design school and got my first job somehow for Karen Walker as her assistant designer, but I'm not a fashion designer. I can't pattern cut. I'm not quite sure how I managed that one, but I worked with her husband and her as like a creative thinker, so I did a lot of the research and the print design, and I mean it was a long time ago now, and they were just sort of really hitting their stride, but they really were fully influential in my life. I was lucky because they just involved me in a really sort of 360 way, like they lived in an amazing house in Swanson, which was an Art Deco house that had moved from Mission Bay at some point up onto a hilltop. It was like a really romantic notion, completely not really New Zealand as I knew it, and they introduced me to an Italian magazine. I knew of Italian Vogue, but there's a supplement that came with it called Casa Vogue, and then when my partner and I at the time wanted to start traveling and I left working for Karen, I called Italian Vogue in the middle of the night and managed to get hold of the art director, ridiculous story, he said, okay, send me your portfolio. I did. We were living with my parents to save money to go traveling, and in the middle of the night one night he called and my dad answered, and anyway he was like, come and see me, and I mean, I still can't even sort of believe that it happened, but they gave me my first job, Casa Vogue, exactly what I wanted to happen sort of happened, and that sort of turned the whole, the ship around for me and so I got a whole grounding of education in Italy, which I don't think you can sort of get better, yeah.
Anyone else? Yep.
This one's directed at Mike, but can go on to Jackie and everyone. I guess going back to consistency, and I'm wondering if you've watched the movie The Founder. It's the McDonald's story. If you haven't, you should watch it. But the Allpress bean, or the taste of the Allpress in Auckland for me is so consistent. No matter what cafe you go to, you'll always rely on Allpress to give you that same taste. And how have you applied a consistency technique to your brand and not let your baby go? Jackie, we were talking about letting your baby go and building your brand. So yeah, the question lies at what is the technique, and how do you apply consistency and not letting your brand evolve and change from your original idea?
Who are you? Fantastic, two lovely questions, and the first one around your appreciation and acknowledgement of the flavour. I can tell you a story. When I was being a ski bum and chefing and living in North America, occasionally I would have a coffee and I'd just go, oh man, what is that coffee? It's just awesome. So I'd find out who the roaster was, and then I'd find out what equipment they used, and it was like bingo. It was this happened about five times, and every time it was this thing called fluidized bed roasting, and it was modern technology. It wasn't an old drum roaster. So I started to investigate that, and there was this cranky old guy living in Eugene, Oregon that built these things. and I ended up buying one off him. But this is absolutely something that is the difference between our coffee and other people's coffee. I'm not sure for what reason people don't. I'm not sure why the industry hasn't totally embraced this this method. Some of the big corporations, some of the large coffee companies that do research, and they have switched to fluidized beer roasting coffee. It's just a better way to roast. Your other question around branding consistency. Less is more. I'm quite a focused person, and that's the why question all the time. You know, why are we doing this? And you know, we've got 30 years of evolution here, so you know, and we're about to launch some product and some new collateral and iconography around our blends, which I think. Although we have a nice heritage and we've been around for 30 years, it's, you know, to your point, Jackie, keeping yourself, you know, innovating and your story around those classes that people are interested in. They're there to excite, and but that you still have to deliver on the 80%. I'm not sure if that made sense, but yeah, hopefully that helps.
I've got a couple of questions. First one is for you, Katie. You say, you know, you don't want to build anything that's temporary. You're frustrated, say, when the clients come in and go, what are the trends? So there's this directionality and mastery from you, yet you're working with someone who's commissioning you and is like the master in that sense. And I'm very curious how you manage that dichotomy between being a master and being the authority creatively in what you're doing, and then the commercial reality, and keeping that relationship on the level so that it's healthy, yet you still have integrity.
I mean, I guess now I just don't do anything that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm way more driven by my heart than...
Would that go so far as to backing out of a commission that ends up going the wrong way?
Oh, yeah.
Or, yeah.
But I think, I trust my instincts. I feel like, I always say to a client, well, let's meet and see if we're right for each other, because,
yes.
I don't think that I'm the right fit for everyone.
Yeah.
And, we put so much energy into a job that it would be wrong to misdirect that, not just for me, but for my team and for my family. It's just, yeah.
I guess it's got to become easier as you're more a brand and an established thing versus when you're starting.
Look, we'll do tiny jobs as well. It doesn't matter, but it's got to be the right fit. Like, we're working on a really amazing Chapman Taylor house at the moment. It's literally a tiny bathroom, but I really want to do it. I'm fascinated by his houses. The client's amazing. She appreciates what we do. It's not about money for me. It's about giving my team and myself and my family the right experience.
I love that. The question is...
I can elaborate on your question. Katie is doing some work for us at the moment. We have an opportunity to reimagine ourselves in a Tokyo space, and we commissioned Katie because of her expertise in merchandising and retail, and she's an amazing colourist as well, to go and examine what we're doing in Tokyo and what the opportunity might look like. She came back with a proposition that I went, oh my God, that's not going to work. But after talking through it, and she really heard us and listened to us, that we were trying to do something different from what we had done before. So she heard us and she pushed us, and a lot of the people that are influencing that decision are still looking at building a cafe, but we're not building a cafe, we're doing something completely different. We're building a brand expression in an exciting market that's got merchandise and other things surrounded by it. So thank you.
Cool, to see if there's room for one more question. Good. Oh, Doug, there you are.
I love this idea of everyone and their unique ability or their gift, and you mentioned the gift or the gap before, Michael, and I was just interested in what you all think your unique gift is, the thing you did when you were 7 years old that you continually get energy from, and how do you spend more time in that gift?
Thanks, Doug.
Okay. I just think that I'm just really lucky that I love what I do, and that's all it sort of takes, really, for me.
I'm going to think a few more seconds on this.
Yeah. I think I'm really driven and focused. I think at 7 years old I kind of knew, I think I knew at 5 years old that I was going to be a doctor. And it's a little weird. I never said that. Thank you, Doug, when we said that.
Yeah, it's a great question. I've been doing one thing for 30 years and contemplating the prospect of rediscovering that gift outside of coffee. And that's exciting. I think it's a natural progression as you age and values change, your perception of what's important moves. So I'm looking forward to rediscovering my, not maybe 7, but the gifts that I had at that age, for sure. Surfing, I'm off to Bali tomorrow.
Balance in life.
I've always been a warrior, and I have learnt to apply that to business, and I don't leave any stone left unturned. I think about everything. I have equal parts heart, but yeah, equal parts thinking it over always. So that's always been something that has been with me.
Thank you, guys. We'll wrap it up there. It takes a bit of a community to pull all this off, and we've actually got some great partners that have actually helped make sure that we're all hydrated tonight and looked after. Amano has actually helped feed everyone tonight. It's just, nice for their generosity and their support of the arts. Emmersfield's one of our customers down in the South Island. Whenever we get a cheaper offer at their wine, most of the team takes it up, so they've provided the wine tonight. Antipodes, thank you very much, and of course Beer Baroness. You've been drinking Ava's lovely beer tonight. Go and have some more. And each of you, when you're in Christchurch, check out Little Poms, check out Pomeroy's, check out Beer Baroness. It's an institution, and we've spent a lot of expenses money there. Thanks, Mike. But encourage that. Katie, thank you so much. I think it's been great to get to know you a little bit, and thank you so much for sharing the stage with us. Jackie, we see a lot of your team in here often, which is fantastic. Actually, a lot of our team spend a lot of time at your places, so it just feels like a good natural connection. And Mike, I've been working with you for nearly 4 years. I kind of always said that I'd like you to get you on stage more often. Thank you for entertaining me and allowing that to happen. So just a small gift for us to say thank you to each of you for, I guess, being great New Zealanders, leading with your heart, and thanks for contributing tonight. So small gift on our behalf, and thank you. And feel free to buy the art as well. The art is for sale. Feel free to buy the art.
Craig, I'd like to just acknowledge your contribution here. Thank you so much. This studio was called a gallery a while ago, and this guy turned up and said, I'm not sure whether we're doing it right, and he repositioned the gallery, and I think what it is today has a lot to do with your contribution, along with Nicola Fox. Hopefully she's here tonight. It is a real anchor for this neighbourhood and this community, and you should be proud of your contribution to that, and thank you for your words tonight.
Thanks all.
You're welcome.